Blood stained the streets of Montreal as two powerful crime families, the Scapa and Rizzuto clans, dragged the town into its most brutal gang war ever. What started as a power struggle developed into a storm of betrayal, revenge, and unimaginable violence. Families were torn apart, and the city's darkest corners became battlegrounds where loyalty meant nothing and survival came at any cost. This was more than a dispute. It was a war that reshaped the underworld and left a trail of destruction that changed Montreal forever. The rise of the Scapa brothers, seizing power amid chaos. In the aftermath of the Rizzuto family's decline, two figures emerged to challenge the established order: the Scapa brothers, Andrea and Salvatore. These men saw opportunity in chaos, launching a calculated and violent rebellion against their rivals. The Scapa brothers were not just opportunists, they were strategic and brutal. They understood that in the underworld, power is never handed over. It must be taken by force. Their campaign against the Rizzuto family was marked by a wave of targeted killings, ambushes, and acts of terror. Their actions sent shockwaves through the streets of Montreal, turning neighborhoods into battlefields. Andrea Scapa, known for his intelligence and ruthlessness, became the face of this rebellion. He organized attacks that disrupted the Rizzuto family's operations, using fear as a weapon to strengthen his power. But their rise was not without consequences. As their influence grew, so did the body count, and Montreal's streets became a stage for one of the deadliest feuds in its history: family betrayal, the assassination of Niccolo Rizzuto. Niccolo Rizzuto, the head of the Rizzuto family, symbolized the golden era of Montreal's mafia. His assassination on November 10, 2010, marked a turning point in the city's criminal underworld. The sniper's bullet that ended his life didn't just kill a man, it shattered a dynasty. Niccolo's death exposed the fragility of loyalty within organized crime. As whispers of betrayal spread, even family members came under suspicion. Was his death orchestrated by an outsider, or was it the result of betrayal from within? These questions tore the Rizzuto clan apart, leading to internal chaos and mistrust. For decades, Niccolo had been a unifying force within the family, holding alliances together and maintaining order. With his death, the family's grip on Montreal's underworld began to weaken. Rivals like the Scapa brothers seized the moment, intensifying their efforts to dismantle what remained of the Rizzuto empire. Niccolo's assassination is a harsh reminder of the mafia's dark truth. Even family bonds are expendable when power is at stake. The constant cycle of violence. The feud between the Rizzuto family and the Scapa brothers created a constant cycle of violence that consumed Montreal for years. Every act of aggression called for revenge, creating an endless loop of bloodshed. This cycle didn't just affect gang members, it spilled over into the city, turning Montreal into a war zone. Drive-by shootings and bombings became almost routine, leaving innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire. Entire neighborhoods were paralyzed by fear as the violence grew out of control. For those involved in the feud, the cycle of violence created a sense of danger. Trust became a luxury no one could afford, and alliances vanished. Each side believed that showing weakness would promote death, leading to increasingly brutal and public acts of violence. This cycle highlights the destructive nature of gang wars. They are self-sufficient machines of chaos, feeding on fear and vengeance, with no clear end in sight. Informants, the Frenchmen who betrayed the mafia. One of the most significant instances in Montreal's gang war came from within. An informant, known as the Frenchman, decided to cooperate with law enforcement, providing them with critical information about the Scapa brothers' operations. This betrayal was a game changer. The Frenchman's insider knowledge allowed authorities to map out the Scapa clan's network, leading to arrests and the disruption of their operations. But his decision came at a price. The revelation of an informant within their ranks sent shockwaves through the criminal world, creating a wave of paranoia and division. The Frenchman's betrayal underscores the fragile conditions of life in the mafia. Trust is fragile, and the line between ally and enemy is razor thin. In the underworld, loyalty is conditional, and betrayal often comes from those closest to you. Law enforcement's crackdown, surveillance, and mass arrests. As the body count rose, Quebec law enforcement intensified their efforts to bring order to Montreal. They launched one of the largest crackdowns on organized crime in the city's history, employing cutting-edge surveillance and intelligence-gathering techniques. Wiretaps, hidden cameras, and undercover agents became the tools of this campaign. Law enforcement monitored phone calls, listened to messages, and tracked movements, building a detailed picture of the criminal networks at play. Their efforts led to mass arrests, including high-ranking members of both the Rizzuto family and the Scapa clan. While the crackdown disrupted operations and weakened the gangs, it also had unintended consequences. The arrests created a power vacuum, leading to more violence as rivals scrambled to seize control. Furthermore, the remaining gang members became increasingly paranoid, resorting to extreme measures to ensure loyalty and eliminate potential threats. This operation highlighted the challenges of combating organized crime. While arrests and convictions are victories, they are only temporary solutions in a war that is deeply entrenched in society. Historical rivalries. Calabrian versus Sicilian Mafia. The gang war in Montreal was not just a local conflict, it was the continuation of historical rivalries between Calabrian and Sicilian Mafia factions. These rivalries, rooted in cultural and territorial disputes, have shaped the criminal underworld for generations. The Rizzuto family, of Sicilian origin, long held dominance over Montreal's mafia scene. Their reign was a point of contention for Calabrian factions like the Scapa brothers, who sought to challenge their supremacy. These rivalries were not just about power, they were about identity and legacy. As the conflict escalated, these historical tensions resurfaced, fueling the violence. The legal aftermath of Montreal's gang war was as complex as the conflict itself. The trials of high-ranking mafia members were filled with challenges, from witness intimidation to jury manipulation. Prosecutors faced an uphill battle, navigating a system where fear and corruption were ever present. Despite these obstacles, many key players were convicted, dealing significant blows to their organizations. However, these victories came with limitations. For every leader removed, another rose to take their place, ensuring the cycle of violence continued. The trials revealed the resilience of organized crime. Even in the face of legal pressure, these networks adapt and survive, proving that the fight against the mafia is a long and difficult journey. Personal costs of mafia life. The human toll of Montreal's gang war cannot be overstated. For those involved, the price of power was paid in blood and loss. Families were torn apart, friendships shattered, and lives cut short in the relentless pursuit of control. The deaths of figures like Niccolo Rizzuto and the Falduto brothers highlight the personal sacrifices demanded by life in the mafia. For every triumph, there is a corresponding tragedy. A son without a father, a family without a patriarch. Survivors are left to grapple with the emotional and psychological scars of their choices. Many are haunted by guilt, grief, and the knowledge that their ambition cost them everything they once held dear. The personal costs of mafia life serve as an important reminder of the devastating consequences of living in a world ruled by violence. The unpredictability of gang wars. Gang wars, despite their structured appearance, are anything but orderly. They thrive on chaos, where allegiances are fragile, betrayals can strike like lightning, and the balance of power shifts unpredictably. The war between the Rizzuto family and the Scapa brothers is a perfect example of how quickly the situation can turn in the criminal underworld. In this conflict, former allies became bitter enemies overnight. Deals struck in secret were often broken, leading to violent retaliations. Trust was scarce, as no one could predict who might turn on them next. Even powerful figures like Niccolo Rizzuto, the head of the Rizzuto family, were not immune to the dangers. His assassination, carried out with precision, showed how quickly someone at the top could fall. For gang members, every decision carried life and death consequences. A single miscalculation, choosing the wrong ally or underestimating an enemy, could end their lives. This unpredictability created an environment of constant fear and paranoia. Even within their own ranks, individuals were never safe, as informants and traitors could emerge at any time. Montreal's most brutal gang war is a story of ambition, betrayal, and the constant pursuit of power. It is a tale that reveals the fragility of loyalty, the destructiveness of vengeance, and the high price of life in the mafia. For the Rizzuto family and the Scapa brothers, the war brought moments of success, but ultimately left a legacy of bloodshed and loss. This conflict serves as a dark reminder of the human cost of organized crime. For Montreal, the scars of this war will remain, a haunting testament to a dark chapter in the city's history.